Hi, it's Trina, and I'm with Redneck Rhapsody, and I'm so glad you joined us today. If you don't subscribe to us, I encourage you to do that. Just like hit the red subscribe down below and hit the bell so you don't miss any of my crazy little things I do, my little country life I live. Well, I'm kind of sort of doing two projects with one today, and I didn't plan on actually having any videos where you saw this because it's awful. Whoo, mercy. It is hot in Arkansas and steamy. I'm going to start working on my pumpkin door hanger or my pumpkin sit and serve. And this is all for social safety and social distancing for trick-or-treaters. Mr. Welch, the Southern Cabana boy, just helped me with cutting a piece of wood because I didn't feel like doing it today myself. And I'm going to put this phone on a tripod and show you when you're really wanting to be lazy and it's not something you're going to touch all the time and you don't feel like getting your sander out, what you can do for a quick trick to not have to sand. Politically correct, there's probably nobody in the world of construction that would agree with this, but there's more than one way that you can sand something when you're working on a project. I use aluminum foil if I don't need a very intense one sometimes. If it's in a small spot, I've used a fingernail file. For this project, I just don't want to dig the center out because I'm hot and I'm lazy. What we're going to do is use the concrete. Has everybody got concrete somewhere? Maybe asphalt? I've not used asphalt just because I don't ever live where there is asphalt. So, I'm taking my board. I'm laying it on the concrete. I'm not going to say it's going to work on a big heavy duty piece of wood, but it will definitely work on a small. And let's see, this is a super thin piece of plywood. They use it to like just put over things. It's super flimsy, but I don't need it to be real big and heavy for what I'm going to use it for. But it sanded it enough that I shouldn't get splinters when I paint it. Alrighty. I'm going to shoot this with a little bit of spray paint. And then I'm going to use my acrylic paints on it to give it the look I want. The project I'm going to work on with this is two different ones. I'm going to make it where it can be versatile. This will be a board that you could hang, and we'll be drilling holes and putting rope through it. I've got twine, rope, whatever you want to call it. It's where it can be a door hanger. And I will be showing you what my project will be with this, but it's going to be a self trick-or-treating to hang on your front door, or the other project I will do with it, we're going to put these together and I'll show you how I'm going to make it stable like this to where you could put it on a tabletop sitting outside by your door if you have a little patio table, to where it can sit there if you don't want it hanging on your door. Because I already have my 24 pocket door hanger trick-or-treat. This will just be an additional type item that they could trick-or-treat from. And yes, everybody's made comments. Everybody could grab 3 or 4 bags out of each one of these, or like a greedy little child might take all of them. So sit on your front porch, but social distance while you do it this Halloween, and enjoy these trick-or-treat things where you don't have to be up in people's face to hand them the candy and be touching everything like on the spot. That's what we're going to work on. I'm going to call this pumpkin picking, and I'm going to put the word take one, which I've already popped my letters out for it, and it's just going to be my stencil now that I can use. This was cut out with a Cricut. This is a little bit heavier, kind of like a cardstock, but it's also got a film on it, so it's really great when I want to use it for doing stencils. And I don't line up with my plastic because of what I cut, because it's not necessarily straight. So I'll make sure that's straight before I start painting that
I'm going to have to just do it one letter at a time because it took a lot less of my material when I use my Cricut. And so that's something you might want to consider when you're making a sign and you don't want to, because I'm trying to keep all this I can to make stencils. But if you don't want to have to put your letters in order and have your whole words spelled out and to make it super easy, is drawing a line off to mark my letters and then just tracing them to where I can come back and paint them. That's what I plan on doing with this stencil. So I'm going to jump off here. So where you don't have to, I don't have to waste your time and my time. I'm trying to say the right thing or the wrong thing, and if I say something I shouldn't, I'll get another coat of probably a little bit thicker orange on this because I just sprayed spray paint on it the other day to get a quick coat on it. And that way I wouldn't take as much of my acrylic paints.
Normally I wouldn't do this way. I'm just using this. It happens to be a Craft Smart. I don't know exactly which one of my oranges I want this to go towards on color, but I only have a little bit of this one left. So with not having to deal with dipping a brush and doing everything, I'm just dumping it on and gonna smear it around, and we'll see how this looks, because I know that this is not gonna be probably the orange I leave it with, but this is how you get it done faster. After standing up and looking at this from a different angle and changing the light on it a little bit, I'm not loving how some of that's looking. And before it gets super dry and I still have my paint on my plate, one of the things that I've learned with acrylics is water can change the looks of a lot of it. So I have added water in my brush. I'm just kind of taking some of the water out. And because I painted from just that side over there, all of my stuff is leaning that direction. So I will advise you, if it matters to you, stand up sometimes and look at stuff, because like every single one of these is leaning sideways and I'm not loving that. So hopefully that will pull that out just a little bit. And this is mainly just water that's in my brush right this second that I'm just still trying to move this paint around a little bit. I've made a mark on the side of my board. I'm going to trace my letters with the pencil though before I start painting and get all my letters out on this, because I am going to space them a little bit wider and possibly make them a little bit larger than what the stencil has them. Hi, it's Trina with Redneck Rhapsody. I'm glad you jumped on here today to check out some of my ideas for being able to socially distance for a safe Halloween and have a great time with all your trick-or-treaters. One of the ideas that I'm working on today is going to be pumpkin picking. We're going to be able to set this up. I'm going to do two versions of this one. I want to do it where if you don't have a door, like a front porch or somewhere you want to put this, and you just had like a table, or maybe at the end of your driveway even, if you're going to trust your little trick-or-treaters, because I did tell them to take just one. We're going to show the treats being put in the cellophane bags and put inside this wire pumpkin. It's from Dollar Tree, y'all. They were $1 a piece. They lay flat. I'm going to show you how to do this also as a front door hanger. That's why it's going to be interesting as I work my way through this little project, because I'm going to show you how to do it, like I said, as a table design where it can be on your front porch with several other ideas. In case you have lots of trick-or-treaters, you may want 3 or 4 of my different ideas all on your front porch, like I'm going to show a accumulation of those. Or you may not have very many. I truly don't have very many. But I have a girlfriend, and she popped over last night and saw some of the things I was working on, and she says, "Girl, how many trick-or-treaters do you have?" And I go, like none, maybe 2. And she goes, "I've got a place for you to put all that stuff. You need to bring that to my neighborhood because my front porch is going to be busy." So this may all end up at her house. That being said, I'm going to drill, and I'm going to drill the holes for holding it up like this. And then we're going to change it over into being a door hanger with using some twine rope and go that route, because it's going to have a lot more holes drilled in it, and that's how I'm probably going to leave it. So I'm going to jump off here and we're going to do that. Thanks, y'all. Not sure if I'm on the camera good or not today. I'm working on part of my project with my pumpkin picking for my social distancing for Halloween. We're going to work on doing each one of my halves of pumpkins individually. One of them I'm going to make it look a little bit nicer, more frou-frou. I am going to try, now that I'm wrapping my pumpkin stem, if you can see that. I know I don't have the best angle on this for y'all, and I'm sorry. But I really don't want all my glue to show. I'm gonna try to do more from the inside, but it's probably gonna drip and make a mess all over my desk, because this isn't just a blogging working desk. This is a craft studio. It's my paint table. It's a whole lot of things. But I promise you, when I get through this project, it's gonna be super cute. It's gonna be a cool way that you can share a little Halloween love without having to be so hands-on possibly this year with your trick-or-treaters, but still get to see them and spend some time hanging out and having a good, safe trick-or-treat night. I know a lot of places are looking at 2020 possibly not doing trick-or-treating, but there's a lot of children that's had a really crappy last 6 months, and the school year's not been great so far. So I hope y'all consider, I'm not a big trick-or-treat person. Matter of fact, at our church, we've been doing fall festivals for years because I don't love what Halloween stands for. Everybody has their own opinion. I'm not asking you to have the one I do about it, but I don't love it. I'm just being frank and honest with you. But I do believe there is joy in anybody's life when you get candy, and you get candy for free. Everybody loves some free candy. So I look at it putting little smiles on their face, and believe it or not, still as a big grown-up girl, if you've ever been through my blog and seen my steampunk costumes, we don't love Halloween for what Halloween's for, but we do love it that it's a time of the year that we can put on costumes, pretend that we are from a different era, or maybe we're superheroes for just a couple of hours and have a good time with some of our friends, just not taking life quite so serious. Because if I'm doing anything Halloween, I'm definitely not being serious about what's going on. I think I'm going to stop this right here and leave the top with the wire exposed a little bit, because I've got a few of these leaves that I want to maybe try to stick in here. I may just glue them on the back, but I want to be able to take my rope and stick it down inside when I cut it off here in a second and glue it and have a little room. And when I put this on my board that I've made, I want to make sure I'm going to cut that a little bit longer so it will stick down inside of this. I'm just sticking it back down in there. Maybe I like both of those. Yeah, let's kind of go with that. And then I made a curly cube, and I told how I did it on the blog. So if you want to know, you'll have to drop down in the description below to see exactly how I did it. I'm going to tell you real quick how I did it. I took a piece of this twine, just this like that. I got it damp, nice and wet. You could use a paintbrush. I used an old ink pen that came from a hotel, so it didn't matter if it ruined. And when it was wet, I wrapped it really tight. I got Elmer's glue, or you could use Mod Podge, but I got Elmer's glue, and I diluted it a little bit with water, and I took a paintbrush and I painted my twine, and then I put something that didn't really matter, that was inconsequential to me. I think I got a rock from outside and laid it kind of up against it to hold it where it wouldn't unwind, because you see how that's already unwound and got loose. Now when it's wet, it will stay on there better. But I took a rock and I let it set for like 2 days. I did move the rock around to make sure it wasn't sticking to it, because it was like that. But now it's kind of firm and crunchy, but it's like that. So that's how I did that. And I did it so we would have a curly cube for our pumpkin, kind of like you do in nature. And yep, I just threw glue sticks everywhere. Sorry, y'all. If it isn't a mess, it's probably not authentically done by me. I'm not going to say a whole lot more about that, because that's just how it rolls around here. And that picked up enough glue that was still coming through my rope that it's decided it's sticking no matter what. It ain't going to go anywhere. And we're going to take this one and kind of put it right here. And seriously, y'all, these leaves were from the Dollar Tree, just like my wire was from the Dollar Tree. I'll get this whole project put together, and then you can kind of see how everything's going to look all coming together. I'm going to put a little hot glue up inside this where I did my stem, if you can see that. I'm just squirting glue up in there because I left that tail on this to where it would have something to attach to. And I think it's going to attach up in there just perfect. And yeah, it's going to take it a minute for the hot glue to dry. And I'm going to glue it on this outside area, just a hair, where it will keep it kind of up and not let it kind of droop down. Because the pumpkin's going to have some candy bags in it for our trick-or-treaters. We're going to go see how we're going to stick it on our board to make a tabletop outdoor display to be socially safe for trick-or-treating for Halloween 2020. And you can use it any year after that if you're finding this video way on down the road and you still want an idea how to make a display that could be easy to trick-or-treat. Or you can take this, and I may just go ahead and do that. I may show you with it filled with, like, you know, pumpkins and things like that. And it could be a display that you can use every year, even if you don't need it for trick-or-treating. I've got both my stems wrapped for my pumpkin. We've got our sign laid out here. Now I'm gonna try to see if I can get this assembled to where we could do our tabletop display of how to do our safe trick-or-treating. I have made little tiny drill holes, and I drilled 3 holes, and guess what? I am so brilliant. It's gonna take 4 holes because this is gonna end up not being in the same exact, I'm gonna have this on one side and not on the other. So I'm gonna run that back through like that. I'm gonna grab the drill. Okay, I've got my extra hole drilled to where we have 4 holes now, and I can loop that around my wire to hold this half of my pumpkin on. I'm gonna stick this down in here through to the back side. And yes, one more time I will tell you, I might have used a little bit bigger drill bit and done this with a zip tie. So there we go on that. And I'm gonna take pipe cleaners and do the connecting of my pumpkin, and then I'll put some bags in here and show you how this is gonna look. Because this sign is orange and I used orange on the bottom, you could definitely continue to use the orange pipe cleaners up here. And if I was leaving this on my porch for children to trick or treat out of on this pumpkin picking design, I'm going to tell you that I would still probably use zip ties, and I would be drilling more holes and zip tying this a lot firmer, and I would not be using pipe cleaners to firm it up. What do you think, everybody? My orange pipe cleaners don't stand out quite as bad as they were earlier. This is what the pumpkin looks like for my pumpkin picking for a tabletop display, a tablescape for my front porch. And it says take one. If you aren't very trustworthy and you think you have little trick-or-treaters that will be naughty trick-or-treaters, you can sit on the front porch and visit with them as they come up and make sure they take just one. But this is what it looks like to be able to fix ahead of time. So I'm recording this just a little bit ahead of time, but I am showing you my DIY social distance trick-or-treat ideas. This is pumpkin picking, and it says take just one. So if you're a little person and you come up here, you can read that. My pipe cleaners I had up here holding it together. I used wire clippers and just cut the ones that were here in the bottom. I'm gonna lay this down, and I had already marked about half of it just to make sure it was gonna work. But I'm going to show you that I can mark the rest of it. It's where I'm gonna run my drill marks, but I've put dots here where it will alternate of how I braid the rope over it. Hi y'all, it's Trina, Redneck Rhapsody. I know you probably caught on the first part of this project when I was making this a pumpkin picking table sign or a table type display for outside for our Halloween treats. I'm working on turning it into a door hanging piece if that would work better for you. I've used tape to put around my twine to run it through my holes that I've drilled at the top. Yes, this is quite messy if you use old twine like I have, and it's like shedding everywhere, so I suggest doing it outside or in your little workshop area. I ran it through this first hole and then back down through the second, and now I'm going to take it over and we're going to run it through the other side. I've left enough on this piece over here that we will hopefully have enough to tie it when I get ready to do this. We're gonna hope this works out the way I'm thinking it will. The back side of the drill holes are a little rough, so I do suggest you hitting it with a piece of sandpaper or rubbing it on the concrete, kind of like I did the other day. I'm gonna go ahead and tie my knot. It doesn't have to be anything fancy. And then what we will do is play with it and get it to the same length to where my knot's in the center. Is that showing for everybody? And all I have to do on that to make sure that happens is give a little here, pull a little here, and pull a little more here. And if you didn't want it this long, all you got to do is pull it shorter, make it be this long, and then tie your knot and cut the ends if it's longer than what you want. Or you can flip it back through just like this and make it have a knot that looks like that and hang that. So I kind of like that. What do y'all think? I may just leave it just like that. Hi y'all, let's get started on how to weave a pumpkin onto a board or a door hanger. We're gonna stick our piece of rope on the opposite side of where we're fixing to braid. And that will be so we can secure this and make it feasible to be tied off at the end. So, with that being said, let me get started. Don't let me hold you up from what you're doing today. Quick things I want to know. As you do your weaving around this, you're gonna wanna go back and kind of see how it's loosened up a little bit here. I don't know if you can see that or not, but it's loosened up. And I went back to about right here, and ever so far, it starts getting a little loose because of how you're having to pull it through and not paying attention. So go to the back and then pull it to the front. When you can keep the pressure on it until you get it tied, it's gonna loosen up a little bit. And I'll probably start about right here and work it back to where I'm gonna tie it at the end. But right now it's still actually attached to my roll of twine because I'm not gonna cut it. I'm letting that kind of be my holder over there. And the other thing, be really careful that when you're lacing this, and it does get faster because you get a rhythm going, but as you're lacing it, I went over my board a while ago. Yeah, don't do that. It's not gonna work out right and look right if you do that. So I had to undo a couple of laces and go back and fix that when I caught that I had done that. So don't get too far ahead of yourself thinking you're making it faster, when really it takes you twice as long to go back and fix those things like that. That's all I'm gonna say about that. And if you didn't wear the right clothes for doing twine, I would suggest you do so, because I'm thinking my yoga pants weren't probably the outfit that I should have done this in. So I spared you the pain of having to go through all that lacing stuff with me. I've got it all laced, and when I got to the top, I tried to pull it really tight again. This is pretty tight. It doesn't look like it's touching the board exactly here, and that's okay because it got bent a little bit probably when I did my other project, but I think it's going to be tight enough to hang on to my board. And we're gonna fill it up with candy and put it on the front door and see how it goes. I might even trick it out just a little bit to show you that if you wanted to leave it after Halloween, that you might could just turn it over into a great little fall piece to leave on your door if you don't want just like a normal typical wreath. My take one does get covered up a little bit by my leaves and how I decorated the top of my pumpkin, so you might want to size your letters a little bit different, but I'm good with that. If we're hanging out on the front porch, we'll be telling our trick-or-treaters to take one, but since I only have about 2 to 5 trick-or-treaters, I'll probably tell them to take like 4. So, you know, this is for you people that are in busy neighborhoods. We live in the country, if you can't tell behind me, and we just don't have a ton of little trick-or-treaters anymore. But this is what it's looking like. And yeah, I've left it like that at the top. I'm gonna see when I get it on the door, because I have a nail that stays on my front door all the time. We'll see what it looks like. But so far, there you go. And on the back, just so I can show you, I just pulled both strings through, tied it in a knot, and then I just stuck the tail ends up there. So that's what the back and the front look like. I hope this converted from a tabletop display and being able to trick-or-treat safely into a door hanger really simple for you. I mean, it was just a few more drill holes and doing the lacing, and that was pretty much it, y'all. It was pretty simple. So this little bitty tiny thin piece of plywood, it's the thinnest piece you can pick up at Home Depot. It's about a 24 by 20 piece. It was supposed to be 24 by 24, but something happened with that. I didn't cut it, so I'm not gonna go out on that limb. I was out there supervising though, so it could be my fault. I'm just gonna own that. Either way, I just needed to make sure it was the width of my pumpkin. It worked perfect for that. And those are pretty much my measurements, and I hope you enjoy it and get some fun out of it if you choose to do this little project. Drop down in the comments below if you do and how it worked for you, and did you choose to put it on the tabletop and do the whole pumpkin, or did you hang it on the door and let people trick or treat out of it? I'm going to jump out to the front door, stuff it with some goodies, and give you some shots like that too. I'm just gonna be honest, I'm not loving that knot, y'all. This is on the front door. And yeah, I know it's not straight, but it's not straight because I started messing with this. I don't love that knot up there. I don't like how that's looking at all. So I'm fixing to change it. But I did want you to see from the floor, this is chest high to me. So I'm 5 foot. So I'm talking like little short people could reach up in here and grab their bags, like right there. It'll be easy for them to reach. So I'm gonna probably leave it that length if at all possible, but I am gonna change that knot up. I just kept feeding it through until I got my knot worked out over here on this side, and kept doing a little bit through the front, a little bit through the back to where my ropes are gonna be even. And then I will do one of the knots at the top, just flip it back through, make a knot, and then hang it on the door. If I wanted it to be exceedingly long, I could leave it just like it is, or I could have cut some of it off. That's my pumpkin picking. It puts it really low to the ground. I think it's a little too low, so I'll probably stick a knot in it and bring it up just a little bit. But it could actually work like that, depending on what age and size trick-or-treaters you think you're gonna have. So know that that's a part that would be good, that would be adjustable based on that. Now let's stuff the pumpkin. You're not 100% confident of wanting to leave bags just hanging out like I had them for the trick-or-treaters, because I know little people will probably come pull the bottom bag, and once they pull the bottom bag, guess what? They all gonna fall out. This is just a regular, I measured it from here to here, here to here, with my box of press and seal. And I cut it in half, where I put half of it down inside and then half of it on the outside. And I have just kind of made it stick to where I have 2 layers on each of my little wires right here to give it a little bit of oomph. And then I've wrapped some of it back around here to stick it back in there. You could do yours any way you want to. This is the way I'm gonna do mine. And I'm doing this because I'm fixing to transition this over into a fall arrangement real quick. And I wanted to make sure that my stuff did not fall out the bottom while I do that. And I'll be able to decorate around this to where you're still gonna have a pretty cute decoration.